Well, and that is a really cool pick. Of course, saw it first phase banned both times in the previous game for very good reason. And I really love this combo with your support duo. You have doubled down on this physical damage. Now you've got the tag team, you've got the Weaver bugs. You're going to be outputting so much, especially in that late early game. Not to mention, Tusk is one of those heroes. Whenever we talk about Tidehunter on the opposing team, we always talk about what spells you have that persist, that continue to give you damage or control versus that Kraken Shell. And tag team is exactly that. It's one of the better answers versus what that hero actually has. And then Gyrocopter, another classic lava hero, classic Kataro hero that not just lanes well versus the Tide Hunter, but gives you that hybrid type of damage that heroes like the Tusk, like the Ember Spirit, they love to play with heroes that have that nice mix. And I think right now they've just got a very solid, well-rounded lineup.
They're looking relatively strong here. They've got their offlane pick potentially coming up as well, just to get that sort of tankier front line or two, just to further round things out. So looking pretty impressive at this point. Meanwhile, on the Hokori side of things, well, it's not bad for them. They've got some nice lockdown. The Tide's going to provide that team fight, but they do need they need the damage dealer more than anything else at this point. So,
Yeah.
sure, you mentioned the Bat Rider as an earlier option. I think that's still on the table if they want to try that one mid, but the other half of that is, as we saw in the previous match, you take that Bat Rider, sure, it's pretty fantastic. You can do a lot of damage, you can go for those aggressive maneuvers, but the Bat Rider isn't always very survivable, so you are going to have that trade-off if you go for it here.
Okay.
All right. Something a little more durable, perhaps, with the Razor pickup, and, well, considering the Gyrocopter doesn't have the craziest range in the first place, you could set yourself up for a nice long-duration static in the middle of these fights.
No, it's a very cool pick. Of course, racking my brain, I'm thinking about the Lena. I'm thinking about the Viper, just classic Mr. Jeans heroes. Of course, Viper is one of the old classic counters versus Gyrocopter just because of the attack speed slow. But at the same time, this is another solution, not just any solution, though, a very flexible one. I think that's why we see the Death Prophet ban come out now, because this could be your mid answer. I don't think it feels like a Mr. Jeans hero very much, but at the same time, also Yuma in the game here, so we do typically see him go for those hard farmers, those heroes like the Sven, like the PA, but Hokori themselves are the ones that actually banned out quite a few of those. So we'll have to see if Yuma actually ends up playing the Razor, which is a little bit hard to call because, of course, Lava, they still haven't picked up their offlaner yet, presumably, so we'll probably have to wait to see how their matchup goes, but this is another strength, as we usually say, with last pick, with final pick, is just having this ability to slam a hero like the Razor, be flexible in your position, and then make the correct judgment call. Because there are quite a few heroes. I think the Death Prophet would have been a good choice. Just have a silence for the Ember Spirit, have a little bit of control here. And they split the bans for that explicit reason. You want to really be careful here, because if Hokori want to, they could slam you with something that you have no time to prepare for. And I think Lava at this point, just get another hero that's going to be able to buff up the Gyrocopter, feel very confident. I would like if they pick something like perhaps the Legion Commander, just have a nice, easy buff, especially versus the Bane. Something along those lines would be good, but then you're picking Legion Commander into Razor. It feels like whatever offlaner they go for is going to have a little bit of a rough time if Yuma wants to give them a rough time. But, of course, again, that's where Hokori are going to keep us guessing.
Yeah, they've really sort of maybe turn this around isn't quite the right phrase, but they've put themselves into such a more stable position, I think, with just that Razor selection than what we were looking at before. At least in comparison to Lava, we were sort of leaning towards their draft looking particularly strong, but now if you're Lava, you kind of do just have to take a guess. Where do you think the Razor's going to go, and how best do they prepare? Obviously, they're not going to switch up anything positionally. This should still be the offlane selection for them, but, well, mentioning earlier on they could grab some sort of frontliner to round out their lineup, that's not the direction they go in. Instead, they'll take the Prophet, and, well, durability might be a concern, but the Prophet does open up a little bit more for them in terms of flexibility with pushing and maybe getting a little bit more damage into these fights as well.
Yeah, and they're playing more towards that strategy of just, we're going to kind of over execute. We're going to try to out execute you. They've got really strong setup in both of the side lanes, whether or not it's as simple as a snowball in or missile just going forward. And okay, Wraith King yet again makes a lot of sense. That will be the Razor just simply going mid versus the Ember Spirit, which you're never going to be upset about. But I assume after they see with the Nature's Prophet just counterpicking a little bit, of course, said it before, Razor does not feel like a Yuma hero, but now Yuma is on that hard farmer, something he's going to be incredibly comfortable with, and something that I think his team really needed. They needed somebody to go in, someone more so than Vitaly, who could just continuously stay in these fights, and the Wraith King is going to perfectly fill that job. I think now the question is going to be whether or not Lava can play fast enough, because if we see another farm battle, as we've seen play out in a lot of these games, the Wraith King just wins. The hero is just that good. I'm really surprised it's getting through a lot of these drafts at this point.
Yeah, well, we'll see how this all plays out. Do want to get to some points real quick before we get started with the names for those who may not be all the way up to the know. On the Lava side of things, you have Kim on the Tusk, Kim aka Moose, whereas Katyu on the Weaver is MJZ. Same players, obviously playing under different names. On the other side of things, we do actually have a stand-in situation for Hokori. They are playing with Omar in the lineup instead of, I believe, the usual El Misho. So we have different names on the Lava side, but an actual stand-in for Hokori. Just in case you see some names that you don't immediately recognize. So with that in mind, we are hopping on into this one. First game of Series 2 here in the South American side of the, well, not really a bracket. We've got separate brackets, but whatever. Phase 1, South American Dota getting underway as we have a just slew of voice lines being thrown out there. But got Katyu trying to put his way across the river already, looking to see if, well, if anyone had actually beat him there to try and get some vision down. You see him sitting with the Sentry Ward, so unfortunately for him, there wasn't a situation where he could really go for a D-Ward, but he's not really going to miss out on too much anyway, and now he can at least confirm there's no immediate mid lane ward on the opposing side. Hokori sort of opted to set it further off to the side here.
Yeah, and honestly, love this ward. I think it was actually Infamous. We're one of the first teams to place this ward on the cliff right here. Just kind of gives you exactly what you want, and very specifically gives you this high ground kind of cone up into the dire side, which is very invaluable information, to be honest, just because usually at least one hero is going to stand in this spot. But I think Katyu might go for the steal. Actually, Gardic, it's very close. Oh no.
Oh, that's a problem. Tag team is slowing him up. Kataro's coming in. That missile, well, that should not kill. Gardic was able to fall back in time, but there is still a bit of a scuffle going on here. Katyu is up on the hillside, trying to wait out his own Shikuchi. He should be okay, as see Omar just backing away there. So nothing too serious. A little bit of early regen popped, perhaps, but neither side really all that shy about taking maybe one or two early engagements.
No, and of course, with the fight breaking out that much earlier before the horn, you can always just sit underneath one of these tier 1 towers, you know, regen up a little bit, get the buff, and actually, ooh, nice little block on Gardic in the top lane. Just really smart. We're going to need to see a lot of those blocks coming from Frank here, but he's going to be very fearsome, as well as seeing this Tusk in the 4 position as opposed to the 5. I'm a little bit intrigued by that, just because, of course, we always talk about how strong the Weaver is, but look at Yuma. Oh my goodness.
That's dangerous.
The damage.
Good play from Gardic getting in there with the Nightmare, because if he doesn't hit up Kim, they may have had the continual damage to go in for the kill. So, well, this Wraith King, not quite the same as the one that we saw earlier today, ET, where it was just Benny absolutely free farming. This is a duo in Frank and Kim that can put a pretty decent amount of pressure on him under the right circumstances. Gardic's going to have to be on his toes to protect his buddy.
Yeah, it's one of those lanes where you have to make the almost impossible decision of, do you get the chainmail first, or do you feel comfortable enough rushing the Helm of Iron Will for that Wraith King? Because you need armor. You're just simply way too squishy, especially once the Tusk hits level 2, and he's actually 1 creep away. Surprised they didn't go for the jump on a Gardic there, but just Creep Wave got aggroed back a little bit too quick. But this lane is going to be really intense, and something that we might see Gardic just flood regen, because they're constantly going to get harassed every single time that tag team's up.
Not exactly the longest cooldown in the world. It's It's not quite spammable, but Kim is going to have many, many opportunities to try and make some plays happen. Meanwhile, down bot, Omar may be in some trouble here. There's a missile coming in onto him. They should have the damage for this. One more hit. Nope, maybe not. Stick comes in. Omar not dead yet. And Katyu, he already used the Shikuchi, so they're actually just not going to get that kill. They at least break up the salve, but unfortunately, Kitaro, he kind of backs away just that little bit too soon. He thought that last right click was going to do the job, and they miss out on first blood because of it. So, well, that is a bit unfortunate, but if Kitaro and Katyu can just bully their opponents like this throughout the rest of the laning stage, I don't really think they're going to care too much about missing that first blood shot.
Yeah, everybody's just a little bit too low, and Vitaly's getting a little bit greedy as well with his build-up, just immediately going for that Ring of Health. Once he gets it, he's absolutely fine, but until then, he's just eating a lot of this damage kind of without any way to return it, even though he does have the Gush, but it is a very kind of unfortunate circumstance. There's not much he can do right now versus the Gyro.
Uh-oh. Omar?
Oh, Omar.
A little bit too far forward. Missiles coming out onto him. I don't think he gets out of this one. Yeah. Last time he was able to get some nifty plays with the stick. This time, not going to work out. So Kitaro may have missed first blood last time around. He'll get it this time as top lane. Frank and Kim, they go in. That exact combo once again. They pick off Yuma. Gardic just does not have the mana for the Nightmare. And this is exactly the kind of start that you wanted to avoid if you're Hokori. Kind of harkening back to the matchup between these two teams in that first DPC tour. Lava took the series 2-0. The whole series ET was 49 minutes of total game time. It was back-to-back, just quick and easy wins for Lava. They played a much higher tempo than Hokori were ready to deal with. So, if you're Hokori, you need to try and avoid falling into that exact same trap again. If this turns into an up-tempo fight that Lava can control, well, they're not going to be in too great of a position. They've already given up 2 kills. They are looking for Leo style mid, though. This would be a big one if they could get it. He does have Fairy Fire, though. Katyu's coming in to try and help. May not be enough, though. Yep, Guts gets one last hit in. Leo style will fall. Omar should be sacrificed in exchange. Yeah, but all right. They get a kill on the mid laner. Good play for Guts there, and excuse me, Hokori are on the board, but the point still stands. They can't afford to let the pace get out of hand.
No, and I think that's where Guts is going to be absolutely crucial for his team. Of course, absolutely owning his lane, 21-12. He's just absolutely rocking it right now, not giving Leo Sao a free time in the slightest. Leo Sao is actually doing quite bad, and we'll see with his skill build if he kind of doubles down here with the slight build and then tries to get his kind of game back with his rotations, or if he goes for the third point in the Flame Guard and just says, I'm going to farm, because it feels like it's almost what he needs to do, because he has just been pressured so heavily by the Razor, and okay, here we go. Nice. Oh, that's so sick. Broke the link with the Sleight of Fist in the small camp. That's an Ember player right there.
And now if you're Guts, well, that's your ult down. He's not going to miss it maybe too terribly, but you were really hoping to get some sort of advantage there, at least push Leo style out of the lane, if not outright kill him, and it's not really an option at the moment. There is a bit of a move here from Omar trying to get around this, but the move is actually coming from the other side. Frank TP's in, the snowball coming forward from Kim. That's a lot of movement to go for the kill, but they get it. Once Guts no longer has that ult, they're free to push forward, and now do they stick around to actually go for the tower? Frank's already kind of pushing away, so not sure they're going to get too much damage on it, but it's still a big hit to Razor in that middle lane.
Yeah, and it's something that I'm surprised Guts wasn't a little bit more kind of privy to. You cannot show when you're that low. He was maybe missing 60% of his HP there, and you're always going to get jumped. It's the power of having just really the speed of rotation from both the Nature's Prophet and heroes like the Weaver. And the Tusk was just well set up. He's not that fast, but everyone else is just rocking it. And yeah, we'll just cut the wave. Okay. Kind of some mercy there. Might TP out, though.
They did get the scan in. Not sure if it hit onto Leo style Kim or both, but either way, it revealed that there was somebody there, and I mean, that would have been big. Leo style hadn't quite hit 6 yet, but you assume with 3 heroes up, if they get onto a Yuma with no reincarnation, they would have been able to find that kill. Instead, they have to go for the tower, which they may very well get, but not before Leo potentially gets jumped in on here. Do they have the lockdown? Omar needs to be that little bit closer. It's only a level 1 telekinesis. And at this point, I'm not even sure if this is actually a fight that they want. Frank is TPing away, but he can get right back into it. But they're going to go for it. They see the opportunity to go on to Kim. He's already used the snowball. They'll look for that first kill. They do manage to get it. Now they've got the Nightmare onto Leo style, and Yuma's coming forward. They need that Wraithfire Blast to keep this engagement going, and unfortunately, they're not going to get it. And well, Frank left the fight early. He didn't come back. Instead, he actually TP'd mid to try and get some damage on the tower. I suppose technically he succeeds. There is damage onto it, but nowhere close to actually taking it out.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, you had already lost the tier 1 top. Their rotation comes in right as the tower eventually does get picked off by that NP. And then without finding the Nightmare onto Frank, that's the target they were looking for. They could not kill the Ember Spirit. They were very aware of it. That's why he saves the Link for the Tusk. But at the same time, Yuma is still getting really hard pressured here. He has not been able to amass that same kind of rate of skeletons that he's had to kind of accelerate himself forward here. So just feels a little bit unfortunate. And something that they have to be very cautious of on the Hokori side is how they actually use their TP scrolls, because the one time they kind of TP reactively to try and rotate and catch the NP fails, and that's exactly what he wants. And well, freebie mid.
Yep. Gardic is just trying to fight for the rune. He did deny it, so Illusion will not go into Lava's hands, but they do find the kill. And look at Katyu. He's just sort of looking to scout out. Omar is not a very durable Rubik. I'm not really sure if there's such a thing as a durable Rubik, but kind of vulnerable there. He's just kind of fortunate that Lava are far more interested in taking this tower instead of pursuing that kill, but that forces in TPs. They know they need to defend it. Look at the Tide. He's just coming straight in onto the front line. That does actually force Lava to fall back. They've got to respect it, and now they're split up too far. Kim dropping low. Snowball, though, is going to delay this death, but delay is the operative word there. Can't actually save himself as he will fall, and well, Hokori, that time around, the rotation works out. They keep the tower, they find a quick kill onto the support, and Lava kind of scattered to the winds in the aftermath.
Yeah, they all get out. Unfortunately, losing the Tusk there does mean it kind of kills the engagement, but yeah, Katyu got it.
Stay down.
That's a 5 position, by the way. Love Weaver.
Very fair, very balanced. Good work. But yeah, Katyu just... This hero's just...
Stay down.
I don't know. And that's not to necessarily downplay the skill of the players we've seen on that Weaver. If you have a hero as strong as the Weaver is right now, you make damn sure that you take advantage of it. But the amount of things the Weaver can do, where there doesn't seem to be much of a response from the Rubik player in that situation, I mean, you're just kind of stuck. So very nicely played. Now Lava, look at them. They just want that mid-tier 1. Vitaly's doing exactly what you want your Tide to do, though. Stand in front of that tower and act as the buffer. But at a certain point, can you just sort of brute force it? If you bring in the Nature's Prophet, obviously you have those treants to help out this push, and maybe Vitaly can't hold, but it looks like instead they're going to strike around the edges. They're looking for Gardic instead. Wrath of Nature flies through. Nice bit of damage. Not enough to take Gardic down yet, but with that missile coming in, Kataro, that feels maybe slightly unnecessary, but he wants the kill. Better safe than sorry. They pick it up, and now over in that middle lane, Vitaly is getting pressured up. He's got the Ravage, but he doesn't have a lot of health, and here comes Frank, TPing his way forward, summoning up the treants, and they have to back off. They can't hold the tower. Leo style, though, doesn't want to let Yuma go. They take him down once. Reincarnation is going to get him back into the fight. Guts coming in on the back line as well. Now the Ravage is deployed. Katyu will fall. Leo style gone as well. And I think, honestly, that may have been going a little bit too far for your Lava. You got the tower. That was probably your time to back off. They thought maybe they could get onto Yuma twice, but it's a level 1 reincarnation, so it is a long cooldown, but sacrificing a couple heroes in exchange feels like maybe a little bit too much there, considering you had already gotten the objective you wanted.
Definitely so, and really the only reason Vitaly was underneath so much pressure there was solely because they got the DD rune. The Ember was feeling himself a little bit there, had the Orb of Corrosion, the max level Sleight of Fist, and at the same time, I really don't think he expected to get clipped by that Ravage either. Vitaly did a good job playing around those tree lines, catching him off guard, and I think his Remnant also expired at kind of the tail end of that fight, which spelled his death, and it's those little deaths that make your game just a little bit easier. Of course, Yuma only losing his fake life is definitely nice, but much slower timing than we've seen from Wraith King so far in this tournament. He's really been struggling to get towards this armlet, where a lot of these other Wraith Kings are already looking towards that Deso, and unfortunately for him, it really isn't going to be too much time and space made for him, because look at the supports at Lava. They're already looking deep in over at his Ancient camp and just getting all of this vision down already. I think Gardic Well,
Walrus Punch gets in there. They've got the Wrath of Nature flying through as well as Gardic will fall. Yuma trying to TP home. No. No points up in the Searing Chains. He was about like 10 XP away from hitting that next level, so that's a bit unfortunate. And, well, actually, Leo Style used that point not on the Bolas anyway, so maybe he would have skilled it if they had the chance onto Yuma, but as it stands, able to get out of there. But the aggression continues for Lava. There's a bit of good news, though. Rubik's able to take the Shikuchi, so it does give him a little bit more to work with in terms of both damage and maybe some scouting potential. Try and push forward, maybe see some of these moves coming before they get jumped in on again. As Vitali, this is a very aggressive move forward. He was starting to get a little bit too far away from his teammates, but backs off before he truly overextends. So, relatively safe play on that front, but, well, still feels like Lava sort of have the early momentum on their side. And ET, we haven't even really talked about the Gyrocopters farm to this point, but you look over at Kataro, he's got nags already.
yeah, he's been farming up very, very nicely. He's going and looking over at the Maelstrom, which is pretty interesting. I think a lot of gyros, especially kind of back when Gyro was in his heyday, would go for the crit first and then immediately follow it up by getting the Aghanim Scepter, but I think he wants to be a little bit more stat heavy, and knowing your damage is going to get sapped, having items like MKB, Maelstrom, having just a little bit of damage coming in from the procs is definitely going to be very nice. But whether or not he's going to set himself up to show up to this bottom fight is really the only question in my mind. Leostar is trying to buy time for this bottom tower, and having this tower alive for as long as it is, I don't even know if they have time. And oh, got clipped. Needs one more.
There it
no,
is. Okay.
dropped.
Yeah. He had the Remnant there
it.
that whole time. I was sort of wondering why he was trying the TP bait, but still gets himself out. As you said, Gardic was so close. If he was just maybe a step or two closer, the Fiend's Grip was ready, but not going to be able to get that kill. And now, well, Vitali TP's up top to try and prevent this push onto the tier 2. We see another TP now coming in from the Bane, so Hokori may have missed out on the kill, but they can hold their tower. And actually, never mind. I was going to say they could get the tier 1 down bot, but they've kind of backed off of that push. They are bringing some heroes over again, but now that means they're split. Vitali's alone. They know that, and they're going to push forward. Tidehunter already ravaged, and, well, now this trade-off isn't really going to work out the way that Hokori wanted it to. They kind of just missed the window, and when they go in for it the second time, it leaves them vulnerable elsewhere on the map. So, bit of a rush job there, but the tier 2 is still not dead. They're still not getting it just yet. The creep waves hadn't really synced up in the way that Lava wanted, but they've still got 4 heroes here. They're not going to back off of this just yet, but without another creep wave coming in, not really sure what more they can do. They're just going to back off.
Yeah, it's highly unfortunate, and of course the bottom tower does eventually fall, but at the same time, how much damage do you get on this top tier 2? How much kind of pressure do you get exerted on the map? You're almost retroactively defending bottom by putting pressure elsewhere, and then kills like that present themselves. This whole Tidehunter, who is not tanky, that slight just chunks 300 of Vitali's own HP away, and until he has, I think, a little bit more in terms of defensive items, I'm not saying he needs something like a Vanguard, that doesn't work, but he doesn't really have what it takes to be that frontliner right now, especially when Kim gets involved. Whenever the Tusk is there, that tag team just is so brutal for him to deal with. Not to mention, Kim's found a little bit of time here and there to farm for himself. He's only about 1,000 away from his Blink Dagger, which honestly is not a bad timing at all, considering that he has just been sitting in the trees setting up kills majorly for his NP, who has not dropped the ball when it comes to farm. Frank is right up there with every other core in this game.
Already got his hands on the Orchid. BKB queued up next, and progress towards it is looking pretty solid at the moment. So, cores on the side of Lava doing okay. Maybe you could do to see a little bit more on Leo style, but he's not really that far behind right now, and given just the general kit of the Ember, he is still going to be able to contribute to those fights, even if he doesn't necessarily have all of his items up. And actually, what is he looking for? He's looking for an Orchid of his own, so a dual Orchid play from Lava, that could be pretty devastating for Hokori. Their combos could just get completely broken up, and oh, that's a nice move into the jungle. They spotted Kataro, they get him up with the lift into the Fiend's Grip. They're not going to necessarily kill him immediately, but they do get him down eventually. But this just took too long. Guts is now in trouble. He has no mana for a TP out, so it's a nice maneuver to get in there and take Kotaro down, but if you can't get that kill quickly and cleanly, speaking of which, Omar, nice little drive-by, but you take too long and your own heroes are sitting on your opponent's side of the map long enough for Lava to bring the reinforcements.
Yeah, and it is a nice pick. You do take Kotaro out. Those ancients aren't going to be farmed for a little bit here, but until you can turn those picks, those kills into objectives, it's still just not going to matter a whole lot. And that's where, looking over at Yuma, still working on his Zesso. Once he gets that, I can definitely imagine him showing up to some of these defenses. And nice setup on Frank. This is really well, but the Orchid is almost even better. Okay.
You wish you didn't have to, right? But Yuma wasn't going to be there in time. They had to go for it. They had to secure that kill. You can't let Frank go there. So Ravage deployed. It gets him the kill, though. It's just a bit unfortunate that they couldn't get Yuma in that little bit faster. And now, look at Katyu. He's just sort of cutting his way through. Does have to be mindful of those sentries, but they could look to make a play as Vitaly. That's...
Maybe if he had Ravage, but...
Yeah. Unbelievably bold considering he did have it available, but this is now a problem. You've got Vitaly down. Obviously, the Ravage already was unavailable, but now you don't even have that sort of frontline hero as your opponents are pushing into the Rosh pit. So even if Hokori know this is happening, you don't know if they really have the durability to push forward and contest it. And on top of that, this Rosh is going down pretty quickly. The armor reduction in the tag team really is helping them burn through it.
Yeah, not a shot. And now Kotaro, the big question mark with Gyrocopter is how comfortable are you actually are to being close to these targets? Now with an Aegis, I mean, he can do whatever he wants, and I can only imagine these tier 2s are going to be the cost of it. And that's where, again, you have to look at the Wraith King. You have to look at Yuma, wondering when is he going to show up in this game? Is he going to find a timing where he's actually going to be impactful here? Is it going to be post the Detso Blink? Is it going to be once he gets a BKB? Finding out how he gets there is so important, and nope.
Walks out into no man's land again. He's trying to get himself out of this one, but the snowball's there. That is a stolen call down. That's very green, but it's not enough damage. And Vitaly, these plays, it's just that little bit more painful for Hokori because, as you said, when is Yuma gonna get involved here? You're looking at heroes like the Tidehunter as really the backbone of your team fight, and he's consistently getting put down like that. You don't have the openings to really force those fights in the first place.
Yeah, and that's where the flexibility of your supports on Lava, it's just the double down on that physical damage. And Yuma, ooh, if he got chained, that would be real rough, but they don't even know. Smoke doesn't even pop on the tusk, so he is able to just escape that, what could have been a bad death. But Wraith King's farming top, which means that suddenly this mid tower is just going to be next on the chopping block. They know exactly where everyone on Hokori is right now. As soon as the carry shows top, they know they're going to sit behind their tower here. There's nowhere to room.
Look at Kim just go. Blinks in for the Walrus Punch. Now snowballs back. Yuma's in some trouble. He does have the reincarnation though, and now this is an issue. Kotaro, he got hit up by the Link. They're dropping him down. He does have a second life, but well, Guts has a pretty substantial amount of damage right now. How do Lava get in here to try and defend their teammate? Well, they don't. Ravage comes through. Kotaro gets locked down. Katyu falls as well, and well, what else can they find? They're continuing to chase forward. This is really not going to work as Vitaly blinks in on it to Leo style. So the Ember gets away, but that is exactly what they needed. They get onto the gyro, they kill him off twice. Katyu just gets sort of thrown in to sweeten the deal, and well, a lot of that pressure that was on them previously is going to get kind of alleviated here. They're immediately pushing onto the tier 1 mid and be able to take it down.
Yeah, and of course, huge kill. I think an overextension. It's not like he has a BKB built up yet. He was building towards it and only 500 gold away, but was Katyu really going to try to keep his eyes on Yuma this long? Well, they definitely are going to try it.
Walrus. Follow-up damage is not there. Yuma's
Nice
armor toggling perfectly, but look at Frank in on the backline. He's got the silence down as well, so they take out the Bane, and Yuma...
No mana?
Oh, 17 mana short. That's... Oh... Can't afford to lose track of the math like that. That sucks for him, honestly, but Katyu, that was so strange. That is the utmost confidence in your teammates. He just sort of pushes forward. not really getting directly into the fight, but knowing if I can keep the Hokori heroes around for just that little bit longer, the backup is going to be there in time. It's 3 huge kills for the side of Lava, and all of a sudden Hokori thought that they had a little bit of momentum after that pick onto the gyrocopter. Now it's just all back into Lava's hands.
Oh, it's very, very unfortunate. Don't know if he even wanted to come back there, if I'm being honest. Of course,
True.
he has a soul ring, so he does have the ability to come back whenever he chooses so, but at the same time, I thought there was going to be a little bit of a bigger fight there, but it's just the backstab coming in from the Ember Spear that was just way too perfect, as well as Frank. Everybody can be there so quickly on the lava side. It's the biggest advantage of their lineup. And this is a pretty nifty smoke here. There's no Ravage, though. Nice. The Rubik found someone.
They're going to lock you down. Kataro's losing some damage here with that long-duration link. Frank's going to come in, though, try and act as the buffer. That is going to be successful. Oh. And now Kim, I'm not sure if he needed to sacrifice himself there, or if he even meant to, but he steps in and gets himself out. So the 2 cores do go down. Able to at least keep their cores safe, but Hokori, well, not deterred by that sort of perhaps mistake in their own jungle. They immediately push forward and they find a couple of picks.
Yeah, and taking both supports off the board is actually incredibly nice because suddenly you don't have anyone able to show in these side lanes. It just means that suddenly the Nature's Prophet can't really go anywhere. He doesn't have anybody to set up for him before he TPs to a lane, so he's kind of lost right now because anywhere he shows up could be a potential team fight or a potential counter setup by Hokori. So it just means they get more farm, and the more farm they're getting, the closer they are to getting this gap between the 2 teams to be more or less 0. I think really the biggest thing that Hokori have done so far, specifically from Guts, if they keep trading BKBs with the gyrocopter as they have been, that's exactly what you need. Because suddenly, once that gyrocopter drops out of that BKB, he can no longer show up in these fights. The counter initiation, especially from Yuma, who has a Blink Dagger of his own, he has really started to come into his own in this game, and I think he's really been the vanguard.
Smokes.
Nice smoke break.
Will pop. They're in onto Leo Style with the initial stun. They need more lockdown though. They've got the telekinesis. The snowball actually doesn't hit, but Leo Style was able to jump away, but now the Ravage coming through. They've caught the Ember Spirit. Leo Style will be taken down. Katara, meanwhile, with that static link on him, he just has no fight. He really can't afford to stick around. They've taken down both of the cores, and Hokori want even more. Kim, isolated to the east. They'll finish him off. Now they'll turn their attention onto Katyu. They need to catch up to him, and they need a little bit of extra vision. Not able to get onto him directly just yet.
That was interesting.
He's really just making them work for it, and I don't think they're going to get this. Katyu may just be able to break away, and now if you're Hokori, yeah, stop the chase, regroup, we can push a tower if we stop going after this Weaver. And that is a massive fight for them, and really, they need something to deal with this static link, because this gyrocopter, this is what, 3 engagements in a row maybe, where the BKB really doesn't do them any good.
Yeah, and it felt like that fight was going to go so much better from Frank. Nearly solo kills both the Bane and the Rubik to start off that engagement. Rubik barely escapes with his own life, but the gyrocopter marches down this ramp, gets caught in the middle of the low ground, and then suddenly doesn't have anybody to play with. Of course, Vitaly had Ravage. He used his Ravage in that fight, but you need to be a little bit more cautious there. And you have a Force Staff built up on the Weaver, but I think those 2 heroes were just a little bit too far from each other. And like you said, until Kataro gets himself to a point where he can actually just shred the Razor, or he has a tool of his own to escape, it's why he's going for the Lincoln Sphere, so that way when he pops BKB, he actually has something to contend with. He can either get gripped or he can get static linked at that point, and getting gripped honestly seems like a much better option. It just feels like right now, with that link going, it's not like he has a Daedalus. It's not like he's going to kill the Razor by being next to him.
And this is the other part of Kataro's build that sort of comes into play. No points in the barrage at all, so if the static link is on him, if that physical damage is drained away, there is no other damage at all. The rocket barrage can't even sort of bail you out and still keep you in there, so they've got to come up with some way to deal with it, because these last 2 fights, he's basically been hitting them with a pillow for all the damage that he really doesn't have at his disposal. But yeah, the Lincolns, as you said, could fix some of those issues, but now they've got to sort of wait it out, because he's not exactly right there on the Lincoln's purchase. It is still going to be a little while before he can pick that one up.
No, but until then, the gap continues to close. When you're not confident enough to make these plays with your NP, you just suddenly lose out on so much farm, and farm that you shove into your opponent's face. And you see just kind of the poking, and okay, Omar,
Play on the
nice
Omar.
kill.
The Leo Style's got to survive. There's the Fiend's Grip. Kim, he used the snowball to go into the fight. The Gyrocopter, meanwhile, nowhere close. He and Cat, you were closer to the top lane, so they're not going to bring the reinforcements, and that trade is not okay. Leo Style dead for a Rubik. Really not going to get it done, and now look at Yuma just sort of pushing his way forward, daring someone to come after him. Lava are at least looking like they're considering it, but they don't really want to go in. The Ember Spirit's dead. You'd have to buy back, and then he'd still have to TP his way over, so not exactly a safe scenario. They'll just back away instead, and now that is a refresher. Wow. Guts is just going straight for it. BKB Refresher is going to keep him directly in the middle of that fight, and we talked about how important he was already, just shutting down the Gyrocopter. If he can just keep on going, well, Lava are going to be even harder pressed to find an answer.
Yeah, and of course, look way back when, it's the Envy build on Razor. I think the only thing missing is if that plate mail was a blade mail, then even more bad times for the Gyrocopter. But this build, he just so much more damage now. He can actually be his own damage, and he's got 2 BKBs. He just has to pop it.
Oh, the Lotus.
Oh, the Lotus.
Reflecting the snowball. That's going to break up that initial fight, and this is a very nice play coming out. Vitali, the one with the Lotus, able to just sort of stop that initiation without really having to commit much. Lotus is such a low sort of cooldown. You just get Guts out of there, and now they're grouped up. Do they have... Yeah, they do have a smoke on Gardex, so could look for it. They check the Rosh Pit first. They are 10 seconds too early, unfortunately, so well, they should be checking it again relatively soon at this point. But on the other side of things, I believe, yeah, there's a Trien sitting in there, so Lava will have that same information available to them. Both sides will know that Rosh is back up, and we'll see who really wants to make the push into the pit. Either team with the numbers advantage right now, but it looks like positionally Lava are going to make the move first. 4-man smoke. Do they look for the Rosh directly, or do they go around for any sort of fight? It looks like it's going to be the former. They just want Rosh on as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and this is really good. It's really sneaky. I think they know how fast Hokori can do it if they need to with the Wraith King, but because of this, getting the Rosh this easily is just incredibly nice for them. And now, I mean, got the homing missile with the Ag Shard.
Does
Whoever runs.
Does he need to actually have Rocket Barrage skilled for that to work?
You know,
I think he might. I mean, he'll have a point up in it eventually, but for now it may not work out. Just never seen a Gyrocopter get the shard and not have Rocket Barrage, so we'll see. Should be remedied in the near future, but for now it's a bit of a question.
Honestly, probably would have liked anyone else's shard than his, but you know, for convenience sake, he was right there. But he does have his Lincolns finished, which is incredibly important now. Whenever he pops his BKB, like I said, it's grip or static link, and you want to get gripped. You want to have your allies just immediately be there to cancel it. I don't think he can really handle another fight where he just doesn't get to do anything. And they do pull back a little bit of that net worth lead. Of course, with the NP, they are just able to play the map slightly more efficiently than their opponents. But at the same time, Hokori have also kind of put their foot on the gas, or put their foot on the brakes, because nothing's been happening. They've had Ravage for a good 3 or 4 minutes here. They haven't gone for any aggressive plays. They've really just been biding their time for, I don't really know what reason. Maybe waiting for the Scotty on Yuma, but I think the time is kind of now or never, but there's an Aegis now, so hard.
Try for Kataro. That Lincoln's does get popped. Now they can get the static link off, but they are starting to spread a little bit thin here on the backline. But look at Frank. He actually gets caught out. They can use the Fiend's Grip onto the Prophet. He is not going to be able to get himself out. They'll take him down. Over in the middle lane, though, the fight will continue. Guts is starting to drop a little bit low himself as Vitali jumps in, drops the Ravage, locking Leo Style down. He's going to try to jump out to the Remnants, but the Nightmare now locks him in place. And Lava, they just get completely wiped out. That was kind of perfect. Hokori, for a moment, looked like they were chasing too far to get the Gyrocopter, but putting the Gyrocopter that far back splits Lava too far, allows Hokori to just sort of take them piecemeal. And okay, sure, you didn't get the Gyrocopter, you didn't burn the Aegis, but you got literally everyone else, and now they have a chance to push the high ground.
Yeah, and despite Kitaro actually getting linked by the Razor there, it felt for a second like the Guts was taking way too much damage, like he was actually dying to the Gyrocopter by just being in the vicinity. But then the supports, they just go a little bit too far. He pops the refresher, second BKB, and Gyro?
Kitaro does not really have too many ways out of this one. This may be the first life taken down. His teammates, they're going to try to come over to help out. Now Kim blinking forward, going in for the Walrus Punch. That puts Guts up in the air, but it's Yuma that they really needed to worry about as he just gets in for the damage. Kim gets taken down. The Reincarnation will be popped, but what else can they get? They're looking for Gardic. They finish him off. Nice sort of defensive pull there from Omar, but Leo Style doesn't want to let this go. He's pushing his way forward, but his HP not looking so hot. He's dropping pretty low, and Omar, he stole the Remnants. He jumps in for the kill.
Ooh.
Now can he get out? He's looking for it. He just barely gets away.
Tip the stand. I'm trying to tip him. Tip the stand in. Tip the stand in.
Oh, steals the Remnants, kills Leo Style, pops the Ghost Scepter so he can TP home. And, well, they do still lose Yuma, but Omar's plays really just sort of salvage that a little bit. You see gold-wise, Lava do still sort of come out ahead, but if you don't find that extra kill onto the Ember Spirit, that looks even worse. So, that's a play on the Hokori side, but now they may need to defend against a high ground push. Kitaro just really going in, head of full of steam here. He wants damage onto the tier 3.
Yeah, a cool guy, Omar. I love that play so much, and of course, Leo Style definitely got punished for his play, but that's where I think finally the aggression will come to an end here. But until Yuma actually has a little bit more, you have to be the aggressor on Wraith King. As soon as you're caught kind of with your tail in between your legs, the hero feels way, way, way worse. But that was also in a situation where Guts had absolutely nothing, and they took the Aegis out. So now they can finally make another smoke, especially with Ravage coming up with the King alive in 5 seconds. It feels like Hokori should just run at their opponents whenever everybody is back alive here. And Guts as well. He's the one who survived. He's really the big winner of the past 5 minutes, just staying alive, keeping the farm going, and he's going to have a Satanic pretty soon here. Now he can afford to stay really up close in whatever fight he finds himself in.
Yeah, he'll have the Satanic, and I believe he was having the Titan, having the Titan Sliver taken out to him as well, so he is going to be way more durable, and he's going to hit pretty damn hard here, so gotta be careful if you're Lava. On the defensive front for them, though, Katyu was able to get his hands on a Lotus Orb, so maybe in the right circumstances you can put that on Kitaro and block out a little bit more of that threat, but that is going to sort of be dependent on the Weaver being in position, similar to what we were talking about with his Force Staff. If he is too far separated from Kitaro, then the defensive itemization won't do a whole lot of good, but we'll see which team can sort of maintain cohesion more consistently. As Hokori, they're going to go for the smoke play. 4-man smoke. They do leave Vitali out of it, but he's got the blink, so he can just sort of trail this play, but they're going to run right into Kitaro. This would be a big one. Yuma's going to push forward. The stun, though, does get reflected back onto him, but now the Ravage from Vitali coming out, connecting on to 2 or 3. Kitaro dropping low. He's going to pop the BKB, but he doesn't have any health. He really can't afford to fight this. He'll be taken down. Does burn out the Wraith King's first life there, but that's just not going to be enough to really matter, and now you see Lava. They're just backing off. Frank is going to TP himself out. Kim, not quite as fortunate. He does get taken out, and looks like Katyu does manage to get away with the Shikochi, but Kitaro cannot be the first one through the door there. If he's getting hit up, even if he survives like we saw there, he survives with a couple hundred HP at most. There's no lifesteal to really get him immediately back into it, so Hokori don't always have to just straight up kill him. You just make him unable to fight, and it works just as well.
Yeah, and in Lava, they were really set up there. They thought that they can actually take that engagement pretty easily. Immediately, you have the NP TPing onto the backline. You have the Ember Spirit starting to cause chaos. But what really caught them off guard there was the Ravage. I think just barely the Tusk went in trying to snowball off of the Wraithfire Blast, just trying to get Kitaro out of there for a few seconds, let him react a little bit more appropriately. And then everybody gets caught by the Ravage. You blink in to try and snowball, and then you end up dying instead. And Whiff Punch onto Vitali. But, okay, a little ugly, but at the same time, they had to back anyway. They were going to go deal with their waves here in a second. Someone's got to go top on the Hokori side in a few seconds here.
Frank is just going for the split push game. A little bit of Rat Dota, never hurt anybody, but tier 3 tower, I mean, it's not going to go down, but this is a nice bit of damage, all things considered. Wish I said it wasn't going to go down. If Gardic can't pull the aggro here from those siege creeps, it may actually fall, but Yeah, Yuma's coming in. That might just be enough to save the day. 68 HP on that tier 3. So, Frank, there's no fight to contribute to. You may as well go for the split push play, but you gotta wonder if you're Lava, how do they approach these fights? I mean, obviously, Kitaro cannot get initiated on immediately, but outside of that, what is the avenue in for them? Earlier on, they were sort of getting the initial setup, and then the Prophet was TPing in, dropping down the Orchid, things like that, but you don't have that sort of clear-cut initiation anymore. Someone's going to have to just sort of stick their neck out to really start anything.
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately now, and with the fight even brewing on the other side, and I think Weaver, yeah, just bursted in. Leo, ooh.
That was very awkward. He was able to jump away at least, but I'm not sure where he wanted to be blinking to, but maybe he didn't know just how many were there. But they did have a ward down earlier, so it doesn't quite make sense either. But he's able to get himself away. Hokori, they were hoping for the Rosh respawn there, but timer's not on their side. 2 extra minutes. So the good news is they're really shifting control of this game. They've taken that net worth lead into their hands relatively decisively over the last couple of minutes. Yuma just continues to build himself up on this Wraith King, and well, they have a pretty straightforward plan of attack for these fights. Get in, get the lockdown from the Tidehunter, get the static link off onto the Gyrocopter, and then 9 times out of 10, you're good to go.
Yeah, and it has been the winning kind of recipe for them. Now Guts has even more net worth, has even more last hits. He has a full AC pretty much completed on his own hero, which is a little bit awkward actually, because yeah, and Yuma will actually swap up his build just because Guts already has a few more pieces than he does, so he's gonna go for a Bloodthorn instead. But honestly, love the Bloodthorn idea. Not only giving you a little bit more damage, but having control post these BKBs. We've got just one Lotus Orb on the team for Lava. So you amass a good number of these silences, of these kind of pseudo-disables, and then suddenly, post the BKB, everybody is going to feel very pressed for lockdown, and items like the Bloodthorn are just going to kind of break the game a little bit. And even though Frank is getting this split push underway, I love these little ward spots that Hokori are setting up here. Just getting more aware of where he's going to be playing here. With Rosh respawning, though, as with almost every Dota game, the focus is going to go towards that pit. Everybody's going to be kind of waiting with bated breath.
And 30 seconds out from the respawn as... Oh, got you? Well, the initial lift, he thought he could sort of get through it. He would have had enough time for the time lapse, but Gardet comes in with the... with the Fiend's Grip. And now all of a sudden you're down a man. There is buyback available on Katyu though, so if they do desperately need him for a fight, it is going to be available as... Gardet going to get himself caught out. Quick and easy kill, but there's that Ravage again. Leo Style wasn't able to dodge it. He's in some serious trouble. They get the telekinesis down. Leo Style's dead. And I don't know about this fight. Frank popped the BKB and TP'd in. He's going to try to TP out now. He does make it away, but the two halves of the pincer on that one were a little bit slow to close. Kitaro didn't get into the river in time, and now a second Ravage from Vitaly comes in. Kitaro just trying to fight his way through this, but he can't do it. He doesn't have that durability. He doesn't have the backup. They had no idea, I think, that Vitaly had that refresher, and by the time they find out, well, it's too late to really do anything about it. Hokori take the fight. Now they push their way into the Rosh pit. Really only cost them a couple of buybacks on their supports to make that play happen.
Yeah, and it's very simply just the two bot back heroes trying to make a desperate run over towards their allies. Lava did a really textbook Dota play here, just having the high ground control, having the vision, but both targets they jumped on the Tusk with just did not die fast enough. It's as plain as simple as that. They immediately got reacted on. Vitaly got to have those two very, very clean Ravages. Didn't even get the BKB off on the Gyrocopter. Just real nightmare stuff. And now this Rosh is kind of doing work to Yuma here. Got to be a little bit careful, but
that's a little awkward. Yep. Reincarnation gets popped. Katyu's able to hit the time lapse, and this is getting far more complicated than it should have been for a Rosh attempt. I don't really think Leo Style wants
Leo.
in. Uh-oh. Well, yeah, that's...
Well,
oh
that's
boy.
one way to do it.
Yeah, that's
Katyu,
so unfortunate.
double dieback. Now Rosh is dead.
I mean, that was just reincarnation. Leo Style, I think it's a little bit too aggressive there, and well, now you hurt even more because you don't stop the Rosh attempt. Reincarnation's maxed out level-wise, so it's not a long cooldown, and you do still give over the Rosh attempt, and now your Ember is not available. Buyback's on cooldown, so Hokori, well, they need to get the lanes pushed out a little bit. Frank has been doing a pretty solid job of split pushing that, but they can group up, push down a lane. They've got Aegis and Cheese, and there's not a whole lot they need to be afraid of until the Ember's back up.
No, yeah, it's an unfortunate misplay as well because that was his last remnant. I think if he knew how kind of fast his opponents would have reacted there, maybe wouldn't have done that, but now this is going to be a free Rax. I believe no way to defend this. It's just simply not worth it. I think, yeah, much better time spent doing what Frank's doing, trying to get his own buyback, pushing out the lanes, just cutting whatever he can. But this bot wave is going to be the next objective, and with a cart at the top tower already, Yuma is just going to start chunking through it, and they do have Glyph. It's going to buy another, 5 seconds off of whatever the respawn timer is going to be here, but they popped it after the tower went down. Ooh.
Yeah.
This is a little unfortunate, but okay.
Not really working out, and now Kitaro's going to get caught. BKB wasn't activated, so the telekinesis hits him. The Ravage now flies through as well. Kitaro's dead. He's dead for 90. There's no buyback available, and that, honestly, that might be it. Frank's not in the base. He's split pushing on his opponent's side. The tier 4s are now vulnerable, and that one play may have cost Lava any chance to mount a final defense, as the reincarnation will be activated once again, but that just means Yuma's back up at full HP and mana, and they will continue to push forward. Now they've got another Ravage out from Vitali, hitting onto 2, including Leo, who's taking down the Snowball. Not going to be there in time, and that's it. The GG will be called. They're getting corralled back to the fountain. One more Ravage for the triple, just for the style points. And Hokori.
Oh, come on, Frank.
Well, they do it. And I mean, I don't want to don't want to take away credit from Hokori. They play fantastically, but it really did feel like they took advantage of opportunities that were only there because Lava sort of allowed them to be.
I'm just disappointed. Frank was so close to Megazing Hokori there, and then you got a Dota buff where there are only tier 4s, only one ancient. That would have been a treat to look at. But yeah, like you said, Hokori, they definitely threaded the needle. They took their openings whenever they were allowed them, but first 15 minutes of the game, they were getting rocked. At least it felt like. Of course, they were playing their outs. They were kind of haphazardly defending their towers. I think what they really understood in this game and what they really pushed to really get their victory was just being so aware of this Razor versus Gyrocopter lineup, or just knowing that whenever they can trade their BKBs with each other, whenever we can get this link off, it's just a wash. Kitaro, especially with his item build, wasn't doing himself any favors. He was a very low damage Gyrocopter, and I think something surprising, at least a little bit to me, is in going with this build-up, you really don't do damage. There's no Crystallis up deck, there's no Daedalus Satanic, there's no Rush, it feels like. He was so stat heavy because he kind of needed to be. His team didn't have a frontliner, they had a Nature's Prophet in the offlane, so I guess he felt like he wanted a little bit more HP to work with, but in doing so, you don't have that same threat of, I'm linked to the Razor, but the Razor's linked to me. So he's eating half of his HP in the timing that he's stealing my damage. It never felt like that. And I think that was the big problem, where suddenly Kitaro is not our damage dealer. The man who's got a 13-minute Ags Maelstrom is not our Vanguard. He's not the one pushing into these towers. I think post that first Aegis, Hokori were so good at identifying, isolating, and targeting this Gyrocopter that the fights were nearly impossible, especially because Leo Style doesn't like to be the carry. He likes to be the space maker. He likes to be the guy making the plays, not really doing all of the damage, but controlling his opponents. And he didn't have that backbone that I think the team usually has.
And normally, if Kitaro can't be that frontliner, then you start looking at Frank to be that hero to hold the front and allow Leo Style to sort of come in when he wants. But with Frank on the Prophet, you didn't really have that option to work with either. You had two heroes who wanted to wait and pounce afterwards, but no one to really set that initial trap. So Lava, well, to a certain point, almost kind of outdrafted themselves. First half was looking good, and then between the Nature's Prophet maybe not working out the way that they wanted to, and Hokori taking advantage of opportunities with the Razor and the Wraith King, they do just kind of get a little bit beaten out there. And Vitali, I do want to sort of point to him in particular. 6'3" and 18 is a pretty impressive stat line, but the ravages he was able to get off, 2, even 3 that we saw in that last fight, those were big, because I think only one ravage that he threw out missed Leo Style. All the other ones hit onto the Ember exactly when they needed the lockdown to keep him dead. So Vitaly was there at the exact right opening every single time.
Yeah, I mean, in almost the same fashion as I want to say the only team that was really running tight back in the day was Brax on four or not Brax, Moo on four Zoomers, where it feels like a burrow strike stun. If you can blink immediately onto a hero and then just pop that ravage, it just caught him so many off time or caught off guard with the Ember Spirit, where kind of almost off kilter. I'm used to Leo style reacting, I think, a little bit faster. I think he's used to it as well. It's why he plays so confidently, but we might see a little bit of swap up because, like you said, Vitaly just played amazingly.
Yeah, it was an incredible performance from him. Strong showing from Hokori across the board as they come out and they punch Lava in the mouth a little bit here, getting that first step of revenge for their 0-2 loss in the DPC, but they're only halfway home. They need a second win here to claim this series. It would be a big statement from them early on here in Phase 1 if they could 2-0 Lava, but they're going to need another performance like we saw in this first game. So we'll see what Game 2 has in store. We'll see what adjustments Lava make draft-wise, because obviously their Game 1 lineup didn't quite do it for them. So we shall see what Game 2 has in store. We're going to be getting into that draft in just about 10 minutes here, so ET and I will take a step away. We'll be back for that next match. Stay tuned.